Hello, my friends. Welcome. My name is Joe. This is the Joe Martino Show. And today, Eric and I are going to talk about being kind in a relationship. What does that mean? What's the difference between being kind and being nice? I've talked about this before, but we want to talk about the specific application in a marriage. What does it look like to talk kindly all the time? Let's kick it off. This is the Joe Martino Show. Hey, friends, welcome back. My name is Joe, and I am joined today with my wife, and we're going to have a fun conversation for you today about kindness, especially in relationships. How do people talk to each other, and what are the effects of that? We're going to specifically talk about the marriage relationship, but the truth is, these principles apply across the board. This is something we talk about a lot. Relationship wins, relationship wins, relationship wins. For those of you on YouTube, I'm lifting up my shirt there so you can see it's actually the shirt I'm wearing today. Relationship wins. Uh, we want to jump into this. Before we do that, I do want to remind everyone to like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. There are multiple places you can find this show. It is on YouTube. You can find it on my Substack. I am joemartino.substack.com. Find it on my website, joemartino.com. And it should be in every podcast player there is. If you have a preferred podcast player and you're not getting it, let me know and we'll figure out what we need to do. All right, let's kick it off, Erica. Let's talk about this idea of kindness in relationships. There's a lot of different ways we could go. One of the things that I always hammer is that kindness and niceness are not the same, right? There are times that you have to say things to me that aren't nice. My feelings are hurt, but it's something I need to hear. There are times that when we choose niceness, we actually lose kindness. One of the biggest ones that I hear is people saying thank you, right? Like, hey, thanks for making supper, thanks for cutting the grass, whatever. Let's kick it off. Where do you want to start?
Well, this whole topic is it's another thing I regularly encounter of I can't tell you how many couples will regularly criticize every day, all day. And like, well, you
Yes.
did this, or can I bring up
Yes.
to you like how you didn't know the dishwasher right? Or
Yeah.
can I just bring this to your attention? They think because they do it in this gentle tone that matters.
Yeah. I had a couple one time. They came in hot. And I was like, what? What? Obviously, there's tension sitting on the couch there with you. What's going on? And uh, she was like, well, he did not load the dishwasher the way I told him to. I was like, well, the dish is clean? Yeah. Well, okay then. Who cares?
Well, but they care because relationship becomes about control and power instead of relationship. And you
Yes.
cannot have both. And so many couples, that's where they go wrong, is they make it about power.
Yeah, and relationships are literally built on vulnerability and control, especially controlling another person. And essentially, people try to control two things, right? They either try to control people or they try to control outcomes.
hmm
And both limit vulnerability, which is the necessary ingredient to build relationships.
hmm
And kindness is built in that,
hmm
right? Like, you can look at anything. You cook a different way than I cook. You clean a different way than I clean. You do laundry like a villain. Um, I sort my clothes and properly do
Nobody's got
laundry.
time for that.
I actually enjoy doing laundry, although I do need to get some done soon. Uh, Maybe you wouldn't have to wear that terrible Cleveland gear you wore last week if you had time for that business. Right, but like it's amazing to me how people will criticize that.
hmm
Let's start for a minute. Tell me what kindness looks like to you when you're dealing with a couple, and I know you love couples counseling.
I
What
don't mind it. You do like 98% of your caseload that way, and I would mind like 10%
it?
mine.
I actually think it's a really good illustration for people of the difference between extrovert and introvert because people tend to get that wrong. Like I don't mind being in a crowd. I don't even mind small talk.
hmm
But if I need energy, I want to go sit in the woods alone.
hmm
I'm an introvert, right? I like couples counseling. I get energy out of it.
You do.
You like couples counseling and are very, very good at it. I call you the Wizard of West Michigan. But you actually don't get energy from it. You get energy
No,
more
I'm
from the
tired afterwards.
individual trauma case. All right. So, but tell me, like, what is that like? What's that look like in your room? You got a couple, you realize they're not being kind. How do you introduce that? What do you tell them to do?
I usually, and sometimes it doesn't go over well, but I'll replay back everything they have said to me in the last, I'll usually let people talk like 20 minutes, right? And I'll
Yeah, it's a
replay
great tool to let
back.
people talk.
I even had someone get mad at me this year and said, I just thought this was a safe place. I could tell you how I feel. Well, it is a safe place, but my job is to also point out if you're coming in here and all you can spew is negativity about your spouse, then you're doing it at home. You're not just doing it with me because I'm safe. And how does your spouse feel if all they hear is what they do wrong all the time? I would grow weary with that. And to be honest, I was once that person who fell in that trap that told Joe all the things he did wrong all the time.
She's not lying. Yeah, I didn't know you were going to stop there. Yes, yeah, no, you weren't lying. I think one of the things that it's not hard to make sure you compliment somebody when things are going well, right? Like last week we went on a date and you wore a dress that you said accurately lives rent free in my head, in a very, very good way. It's not hard to compliment there. It's much harder to compliment, like when I wake up in the morning, my back hurts. You're a little grumpy in the morning. You don't quite have the energy that I do in the morning.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's a true statement right there.
right. But part of it is with my clients, I call it left of church and right of church, and I'll draw a straight line on the whiteboard, and I'll put a church in the middle. I'll say on the left, you're dating, and when you're dating, oh my gosh, it's so cool. She has all this energy at night. She's a night owl, right? She loves to like go investigate things, and she's so firm in her opinions. She even will double down when she's wrong. If you don't believe me, go listen to last week's episode where she gets the 5 stages of grief wrong, and all she had to say was, "Oh, whoops, I misspoke." Right, that's left of church. Then you get married, and now I should probably, instead of drawing a church, I should draw a barn. Can I just tell you, as a dude who officiates weddings, I cannot wait for the barn wedding trend to die. It's slow, painful death. I hate them. Anyhow, when you get to right of church or right of the barn, now it's, oh my word, she's so stubborn. Instead of like, hey, you know what? I appreciate, and I do appreciate that it's about my wife. She doesn't have an opinion she's not willing to defend. Now, she's wrong, but she has an opinion she's willing to defend. And I can appreciate that and tell you that even in disagreeing with you, like that is kindness, right? I see how much you work. And I think what happens is people, right of barn, right of church, people take each other for granted and they don't compliment the things that they would have completely complimented when they were dating.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you and I was a 21-year-old who got married and I didn't know a thing about relationships, right? And I remember constantly just criticizing you. And I couldn't figure out why you didn't want to be around me. Like, I would literally say to you, oh, why do you go hang out with buddies after work? And I never stopped to think, does he not want to be around me? Because maybe I'm an unpleasant person. And constantly saying to you, like, why don't you want to be around me? Why can't you just come home?
Yeah.
And being mean about it was actually the reason you didn't want to come home and see me.
I remember, do you remember when you asked me, why don't you talk to me about the books you want to write? And I'm like, well, because you always tell me all the things that can go wrong. And I already know that. And this is an important story, though, in this. Because kindness, we tend to think of kindness as just the things we say to our spouse. Like, oh, hey, I really think you look cute in those glasses, right? Or, hey,
old in these
I
glasses.
appreciate that you are old. I appreciate that you don't get to be married 28 years and not be old. I appreciate that you were taking the time to do this podcast with me. Or I appreciate, right, that you're going to do that work later. I appreciate that whatever it is. The other side of it is kindness is going to the person that you say you love and intentionally engaging in conflict well.
Yes.
And saying to them, hey, you're hurting my feelings when you do this, or when you do this, I feel da 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 da. I don't like it. And then having a conversation, because the whole book conversation, I'll never forget your face. It was utter shock because you were like, I really thought I was protecting you from all the things that could go wrong. And I was like, I already know all the things that can go wrong. I need somebody to remind me of all the things that could go right. Right. And we built intimacy that day that we would not have if you hadn't shown kindness and engaged the conversation. And if I hadn't shown kindness and said back to you the truth. That's why I'm fine is such a toxic statement. Because what it does is it shuts down real conversation. It robs intimacy. And then it takes away from the health of your relationship.
It does. You're right. Because like you should be able to just like express these things and feel safe to express them. Like, hey, Erica, I think you're just really being negative about this book. And when you do that, I don't want to share with you. I have the option then I can change and I can hear you, or I can keep doubling down. And so many people continue to choose to double down. And that's the part I don't understand.
Well, I think it comes back to the conversation you and I have a lot. You get to choose Do you want to be right or do you want to be reconciled? I've been debating since we decided we were going to do this topic on whether or not it's going to bring this next part up, but I think it illustrates this point
Mhm.
well. Like most wives, according to the videos and shorts that I see online, whenever you are living your best passenger princess life,
Mhm.
you want to put the handbrake on when there's a car 2 miles in front of us, putting on
Mhm.
their brake lights.
Mhm.
If there's somebody coming from the right and they're not slowing down fast enough, it's amazing that I don't get in a wreck every day that you're not in the car with me.
I don't know how you
And
don't.
I
but
said to
that's-
you probably 2 months ago, hey, you know what? Here's something I want you to think about. You don't criticize me in any area of life hardly anymore, right? Like,
Mhm.
by and large, if you come with a critique, it's something you've thought out. It's not reactive. There's meat there, except for driving. Somehow I managed to drive around this entire continent without, I've driven in other countries without getting in a wreck. Maybe you could stop that. And I know you still don't agree. In fact, one day we were mad and you were like, he gets butt hurt. Do you remember that? But you haven't
Yes,
done
I
it.
do remember that.
But you haven't done it. That's kindness.
Well, I said you get butthurt because you thought that if you said to me like, "Hey, your light's green," that you were showing me somehow how annoying it is to you. And I told you I actually find it helpful if I'm not paying attention for someone to say something. I don't feel like
Right, but you've gotten
driving
defensive. We could do this right
critique
here online. People will
is
love it. But you've
that
gotten
big of a
defensive with
deal.
that before.
Sure, I'm not
Right.
saying I haven't,
Everybody
but
does.
but
The point being, though, that I mean, clearly we still don't agree on it,
correct.
but you've stopped
So
doing
wait,
it.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So now when you drive well, can I be like, "Hey, you drove
No,
so well today."
no, because here's
Why?
the thing with that I don't think you understand. The way you drive terrifies me.
Mhm.
It's probably more about our desire to be in control of things
Mhm.
than it is how the other person's actually driving or not driving.
That's probably true.
Right. Right. Can we bill each other's insurance for that?
That
Or is
might
that
sit
fraud?
on
Yeah,
its
dang
part.
it. All right.
But I was gonna bring up our bathroom project right now.
Okay, I
Because
do. I just want to make sure in our banter though that point doesn't get
yeah,
missed. You don't have to agree
correct,
to accommodate,
correct.
and by and large, I think that's one of the biggest areas of our relationship that has grown since we've been together. There are times we hash it out, we don't agree, and sometimes at the end, one of us will say, "Okay, so we don't agree. What does that mean?" The other person essentially says, "Then we just kind of keep doing what we're doing as best we can, and we move towards each other, and I can accommodate you here."
I didn't say anything about your driving yesterday. I did find it funny that Kyra was in the
Oh
back
yes,
seat and she was
yes.
making the
But what
comments
is
for
Kyra's
me,
nickname?
and
I made a legal pass in a passing lane. And what is Kyra's nickname? That's right, it's E3. And
that's
who's
by
E2?
you. That's
Who's
your
E2? Yeah,
nickname.
but we could bring the other two daughters in. They both agree with this. Who's E2? Oh, that's you. And who's E1? My favorite mother-in-law. So
Favorite mother-in-law because you've only had one.
all right, you wanted to bring up the bathroom project. Tell me about the bathroom project where I have almost fallen through the floor twice now.
We'll have to share those pictures.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
So
No, it
I
won't.
am, according to my kids, I'm still deciding if
Unhinged.
this is true. They feel like I'm a one-woman wrecking crew, and that I will just go around our house and I come up with ideas and I just start tearing stuff up. I
Wait,
don't quite
do
agree
they?
with
You don't
that.
think they have evidence to back that up?
I put back together what I tear up for the most part.
Okay,
Like
all
I
right.
wouldn't say like 90% of the time. I might.
I'm not good
I
at percentages,
think
so
the
I don't
problem
know.
is I go from room to room tearing stuff up, and then I work backwards from starting point one to start finishing stuff. But anyway, our middle floor bathroom has not. The toilet was sagging. Anyway, Joe had his surgery this year, and I'm like,
March
I
20th.
need him to be able to use this bathroom. We had friends come over. The whole stinking toilet disconnected from the sewage
March 21st.
pipe thing. And I've been trying to find a plumber. I finally had a great plumber who came out and fixed it about a week ago. So I started tearing this bathroom up. Well, the problem is I have issues with my wrists. And so my wrists started hurting. And I'm all about enduring and persevering through pain. So I literally stopped my project and Googled, will I damage my wrists if I continue to use them? And all the evidence said, yes, I think that's kind of lame. But so I had to humble myself and go to my husband and say, "Do you think you could help me with this subfloor because it's hurting my wrists?" And he actually willingly agreed that he would help me with this floor. And he has done a phenomenal job in there just scraping up the subfloor. And I use it as an illustration in therapy this week that all I have said to him is, I appreciate what you're doing and that you're helping me with this. And we even had this little thing in the hardware store. But
She shows up with a I mean, people need to know. She shows
Okay,
up with
go
a
ahead.
chat GPT list. She needs 78 furring strips, 122 blocks of something. The room is 5 by 8 by 7 by 2, which it isn't. Like, there's just this. And I'm like, and even though we both think conceptually, we both think very different conceptually. So in my head, I'm looking at the empty or the finished bathroom, working my way backwards, which I think you are too.
Yeah.
The difference is I'm just like, okay, well, we need this, we need that. And I'm trying to figure out the balance of I'm married to a very independent, very strong-willed, very, well, I'm trying to like, you are very independent, you are
Yes.
very strong-willed, you are very, there's nothing I can't do.
True.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out in the moment, how do I, like, because I want to foster that. I want to raise, I mean, my daughters are women now, but I want to continue to illustrate to them that you need to look out, you need to look for men who affirm that. They don't put it down because I see that all the time in the room. Right? So you're like, well, I need help. I'm like, no, it's your project. I'm just here to help.
You're like, you're a strong, independent woman.
Yes, which she is. I could die tomorrow, and I know we debate this, but your life would go on and you would do well at it.
No,
You would
I
be
would not at
sad.
all.
Yes, you would. You'd be
Nope.
sad. You'd grieve, but you'd do well. But the thing of it is don't anybody call like adult protective services. I'm not thinking about dying tomorrow. I'm making a point. The thing of it is like you have to find that space where finally like, okay, well, if I was going to do the project, this is how I would do it. And I think early in our marriage, because we both tend to, like, I think a lot about the.
Wait, I have to interrupt you here. That's not quite how that went. I said to you, and you're like, you're a strong, independent woman. I said, just a few years ago, you had a conversation with me where you felt like I said to you, or you said to me, that you feel like I don't need you anymore.
You want me. And that's okay.
I do want you. And I gave you that
I
distinction.
mean,
but I also need you. And I said,
there's a reason you walk
Home
around
Depot,
smiling.
this is where I need you. I don't know how to measure. I am a 48-year-old woman, and I cannot figure out how a measuring tape
It
works.
is true. If she ever tells you a measurement, just know it's wrong.
It's wrong. And,
And if she ever cuts something, have backup wood.
So I said to you, no, I need you. And then that's when you jumped in to help.
Right.
I just
Because
needed
at that
to add
point, right,
distinction.
now I'm no longer affirming your independence. I'm actually probably hurting your overall understanding of yourself.
And the bathroom.
And
The
I'm
bathroom
definitely
is
hurting the
gonna be
bathroom.
hurting.
Yeah.
So I was
right.
appreciative that you actually jumped in
Like
and
you
gave
were
me
just like, oh, we're
feedback.
just going to put these really heavy things on the ceiling. And I'm like, I don't know if you have a mouse in your pocket or what, but it's not me. I've had to put ceiling up before. It sucks. I'm not going to stand there on a step ladder and hold stuff above my head while you screw it in, or have you hold it while I screw it in.
But we laughed our way through Home Depot.
Right.
The poor guy helping us was laughing and shaking his head and probably thought who the heck are
And
these
a lot
people?
of people lose kindness there because
Yes.
because they think that guy's laughing.
Mhm.
And somehow, like, I don't even know that guy's name. I'm not sure if you put him in a lineup of 10 people this week,
Mhm.
I could pick him out. And yet somebody would get mad, my wife, and they're embarrassed because they're so worried about what somebody else thinks that then they treat their wife like crap. I don't understand that.
Where we just had fun with it. And I also thank you every day that you work on the bathroom with sincerity because
Right.
this part with my wrist, for whatever is wrong with my wrist right now, it just hurts really bad and I can't do it. And
Well-
so you're jumping in and helping. And I can't tell you how many wives, instead of just saying, hey, I appreciate your jumping, that you've saved me from my rogue measurements and that you're helping me, would choose to say, well, it's your bathroom too. You think I'm the only one that lives here? Geez, Joe, why can't you just help out? Why do I have to ask you to do it? To which I'm like, what in the world?
Yes.
I do not
Yes.
understand that line of
I
thinking
think it's
at
because
all.
we've gotten empowerment wrong. I talk about this
Yes.
all the time. We equate empowerment with being witchy, right?
Correct.
Like, and it just isn't. I did think about this yesterday when I saw you use a saw. I think part of the reason your wrist hurts is because you don't let the saw do the work. You're trying to do the work with your forearm.
I mean, that could be because that thing just like.
Yeah, it doesn't do. We'll have to
no,
go
it's
over that maybe later today or tomorrow.
Okay.
But right, okay. So being kind of like that to the point you just made about like, well, they live here too. Yeah, there's truth to that, right? Like almost every time you're like, oh, hey, thanks for making dinner.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, I live here too. I don't mind,
Mhm.
right? But I'm not gonna lie, I like hearing thank you. I made ribs last week, and I wasn't sure. I made smoked cheese and smoked ribs for the first time at the same time because somebody wouldn't buy me another smoker. I'm just kidding. When you first brought it up, that was my solution. I just need another
That
smoker.
is the
I was nervous that the ribs didn't turn out right. Our kids came over for dinner, right? I wanted to know, do you like them?
Mhm.
And saying thank you means something, right?
Mhm.
I thank you for all the hard work you do for our business.
Mhm.
I know there's guys who are like, well, it's our business. I work too. Like, bro, just chill.
I'd actually say I would argue with you a second, and maybe it's just semantics here. I don't think you and I use the words "thank you" often. We will when it comes to like, "Hey, that was a great dinner." But I actually think we have gone above and beyond to be intentional to show the appreciation part. Like, it's not just "thank you." It's, "Hey, I appreciated that you spent all that time in the bathroom. I appreciated that you made dinner tonight. It was good." And sometimes you'll just say "thank you," but more often than not, I feel like both of us have gotten really good at affirming what we actually appreciated, because that's what rewires the brain.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. To me, that sounds a little bit like a distinction without a difference. If I say, thank you, supper was good. I appreciate that. You made supper. It was good. I don't know. I'd have to chew on it. I do where I 100% agree with you is I appreciate you and I thank you is incomplete to the point where I've actually gotten to the point where I've learned my brain automatically clocks I appreciate you as a red flag or at the very least a danger flag
Mhm.
because I have experienced so many people who use it almost manipulatively
Mhm.
and it's not kind.
Mhm.
And when you actually add something legitimately to it, I appreciate the work that you did
Mhm.
in getting the bathroom ready. I appreciate, that you went and got all of the things. Whatever it is, when you add that what you appreciate, it kills the possibility that you're being manipulative with it.
Mhm.
And there are people, I know you and I have talked about this. We've met them outside of the room and we've certainly met them in the room where people they're just manipulative and they say awful things and they're like, "Well, at the end I said I appreciated him.
Mhm.
I appreciate that he goes to work."
Mhm.
Yeah, but then you went and screamed about how he goes to work, how much time it takes, right? And sometimes that's rooted in legitimate pain, but there's a better way to say it. And I think that's the thing. Kindness is making sure I'm saying something that builds you up,
Mhm.
right? And I think about this a lot in couples that have legitimate beefs. Do you remember a couple years ago when we went on vacation and I think we drove to Florida and we were going to take a cooler full of food and we left it at home?
Mhm.
Here's what I can't remember when I tell the story. Did we come back and get it or did we just leave it at home?
No, we just left it at
Even though we
home.
discovered it in Ionia, right?
Correct.
Why didn't we just come home and get it?
Because I mean, the kids were little. We had already had lots of stress just to get out the door.
Just to get out the door. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I remember, what's funny, and I might be conflating these times,
Mhm.
but I think right around that time, I had a couple who they were both in the same industry. He was in administration, she was in the front lines. They were going to go to their cabin up north somewhere for I think a week, a weekend, something like that. And they were going to pack each vehicle because they worked at different places, and neither one got everything packed.
Mhm.
And they were arguing over who was at fault.
Mhm.
And I let them talk. Like you mentioned this before. You let couples talk. It's a very
You
revealing
learn a
tool.
lot.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
therapists, it's a very revealing tool. And I let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. And then finally, I said to him, I said, "Can I ask you a question? What would it cost you to say, I'm sorry that I didn't make sure we had everything packed? I thought we did. I thought we had all the details hammered out. Will you forgive me? This is what I'm going to do differently next time." You would have thought I tasered the husband. You would have thought I had just tasered him. And there are times that trip on that Florida trip where I did the same thing. I think now, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want to jinx us. We believe in the jinx that we do. I was going to say, you're the one who used to
I
advocate
do.
for
I
that.
do.
We don't do that by and large now. I think that's a movement of kindness in our relationship.
Yes. Just being able to even say like, it's just not a big deal. It doesn't have to be a problem that we forgot this or this didn't happen. And so many people choose to just respond with unkindness, like and harshness. And it doesn't cost you anything to be kind, even in your responses.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I do think sometimes we disagree on what harshness is.
Hmm.
A common disagreement we have, I think a lot of couples, it's a fight. How dads talk to sons is different than how moms talk to sons, and how dads even talk to their daughters. And where you and I like, I think part of it is me, the coach that is still in me. Like, if you suck at batting, me telling you you suck at batting isn't being harsh. It's stating a fact. And where you would never say it like that.
Well, I think when you say like the difference in parenting, one of the things that I've had to get used to in watching you parent from the girls to Joey is like the girls, oh my word, you were so gentle on them as if they were like breaking. And Joey, you're not mean, but you parent him so differently. And I'm like,
Because
sometimes
he's a
it,
boy.
well, oh my word, but he's his mama's boy. And sometimes like you could like pretend he's one of the girls and how you would have
You
talked to
guys
them.
can't have it both
I
ways.
get
You
to
tell
have
me,
it both.
the girls tell me all the time that I spoil him. He has it too easy, and now it's too hard. It can't be both
I
ways.
didn't say I think you're a very good dad. It just amazes me how different you are with him sometimes,
Yeah.
which is what causes
Right.
me to like take a deep breath, like,
Right.
dude, back off my son over there a little bit.
Right. Well, because I'm raising a man, not a boy, right? And we talk about that a lot. We talk about who we're not raising and who we want to raise. But that idea of, we root our life in the Bible, and the modern definition of harshness, Jesus wouldn't have passed. Paul wouldn't have passed. None of the early church fathers would have passed. And I just think it's something we have to consider. Kindness will say things that hurt the person's feelings. I talk a lot about that time that we went, I think it was to the Ionia Walmart. We were shopping and we were going to go do something as a family. And Kyra just lost her mind. Or the trip to Henry Ford Museum. She lost her mind on the way home. And I told her, I said, when you act like this, you ruin everyone else in the family's night. And she was like, well, that's really hurtful. Yep. Yes, it is. But it's necessary for you to learn emotional intelligence and grow. It's not harmful. And there's a difference there. And kindness makes that distinction, right? So like the dishwasher, if the dishes don't get clean unless you load your dishwasher a certain way, then so be it, right? Then you do that. And you have that conversation. But I think one of the problems is people lose kindness because they think their way is the only way.
Yes, and we don't give room that you are different than I am. You and I are so different.
Yes.
And that took us some time to figure out in marriage that
Yes.
we both get to have autonomy in the relationship. And that's what people forget is that
Yes.
you get to have it your way. And I also can have it my way. And I don't have to convince the other person to do something my way. I actually get to sit in the tension of they don't do it my way.
Yes.
And that's okay. And if you don't like it, then you can do it yourself.
And the hard thing there is to sell people on is the reality that the more you are able to learn to sit in that tension and not choose resentment, because that's always a choice, the healthier you become. And the healthier you become, the healthier your relationship becomes.
And you can actually look at it as endearing. I told you a few weeks because I didn't want it to come across as criticism. But I was like playing it in my head, and I did finally say something to you. We had that shed to put up, and you literally are like, "Hey, we're gonna put up the shed today," and you unboxed it, and you're like, "Oh, the shed needs a foundation, and it needs all this stuff." And I had to take a deep breath because I was like, "How do you not think this stuff through in the first place?" But one of the things I actually ended up saying is like, "Hey, this is where you and I are so different. I will literally, me and ChatGPT plan a project.
God bless chat.
Yes,
And I mean that in
all
the most
the way
southern way
down
possible.
to what we need. And you're just like, hey, let me open a box. And I had to work myself through, like, you didn't do it wrong because you didn't do it my way. You
Yes.
just started planning the moment you opened your box, where I start planning laying in bed.
Okay,
at
so
night.
what's really funny is in my brain, I disagree with that statement. I actually had been planning for weeks. I just didn't plan the way you did. Because to me, planning was, do I want it up at the front of the driveway, right up there where we talked about? Do I want it where we put it? Or do I want it over where we took that other dog kennel out? And then in my head, I knew we're probably going to have to level it out. But I'll solve that problem when I get there. That's the planning to me, right? We just plan differently.
Where I think through what are the things that could go wrong,
Right.
and what do I need to...
Or like yesterday, you're like, oh, there's water behind this drywall. No, there isn't. Yes, there is. I'm going to cut it and show you. There wasn't, right? And in my brain, I'm screaming, water doesn't go up versus gravity. It always goes down.
Well, it wasn't going to go up in that driveway. It was drywall. It was going to go... It was like a flow. The whole piece was wet, so it would have been...
It wasn't, though. When I tore it out, it wasn't. Down on where the ground was, it was wet. But that's because it was absorbing it. See, we just think differently. We're like, right now, you're looking at me like I'm crazy, which is okay because I'm crazy over you.
You are crazy.
Yeah, okay. But kindness, a lot of people lose kindness in that moment, and they give themselves the hall pass to talk poorly to their spouse
Mhm.
in that moment. In fact, I actually said to you, I'll tell you what, why don't I just do it? And I got up and cut it out.
Mhm.
And I was like, there's no water here. And you were like, what? Right? And we dried it and we figured out it was just condensation and all that.
And instead of it being a fight
Right.
over, see, in a
Yes.
lecture, like,
Yes.
see, if you would have just done it my way, or if you would have just listened to me, you and I
Yes.
might have those thoughts. But kindness isn't sharing those thoughts, and
Correct.
nor is that working together.
Nor like do they get me what I want
Correct.
long term for my
Long-term.
relationship, right? Like, sure, there are times I have that thought, like, oh my word, woman, just do it the way I'm telling you.
Or yesterday, you were like, when I was in the basement, you're like, no, I dropped my, what was that thing you were using?
A wedge.
A wedge.
No, chisel.
A chisel. And I could tell you were being very gracious up there because you cannot understand. Like, you're like, do you want me to drop something else so you can see whereabouts? I'm like, I just don't see a chisel anywhere. And I had seen a wrench on the ground, but I thought maybe the plumbers left it there.
Pliers. You saw
Or pliers.
Yeah.
And sorry, I didn't say like, well, there's pliers down here. I'm looking for this tool that he
Who knew
dropped.
you'd listen so well to what I asked for? That's a rarity.
I mean, that's an everyday thing, babe. Every day.
And when I went down, I found the pliers. I came upstairs and I said to you, hey, I know why you didn't find the chisel or the chisel. It's because I dropped pliers.
And then we laughed about it.
We laughed about it. Or even when I found the water, I thought about how many couples would have fought at this moment. I said, can I have your help? You said yes. Wendy, that's her sister, called you. And you're like, oh, wait, Wendy's calling me. So you're out talking to her. And I'm like, hey, babe, we've got a problem. Because we discovered water on the subfloor.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't put down anything on top of it until it dries for people who aren't doing our project with us. And you were talking to her. And I cannot tell you, again, I said to you, so unless that's super important, can you call her back and come help me figure it out?
Which was the kind way to say it.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of guys who would have been hang up the blank and blank phone, right?
Correct.
And then a lot of wives would have responded with, you don't have to be a blank and jerk.
Right.
Right. And then that whole thing spins out. Instead of just like, oh crap, this is a project we want to get done, right? I need your help. We're multiple weekends in. Can you come help me? And recognizing that you and Wendy talk all day, every day.
Well,
about
and let's
everything.
not forget my sister's narrative on this is, poor Joe, what
Yeah.
are you making him do now?
Yes.
So
well,
rude.
she's not wrong.
But one of the things I tell couples to do, if they don't believe me that they're more negative and critical of their spouse than they aren't, is go get 2 mason jars and go get some pennies or go get little craft pom-poms from the Dollar Tree, and it's really easy. Every time you're criticizing or being mean, drop it in the negative jar. Every time you're being nice and affirming without any buts or extra criticism, drop it in the other jar. Let's see which one fills up first.
Yes.
It's a really good visual analogy
Yes.
if you want to see if
Yep.
you're affirming your spouse.
Yes, I do that. I'll draw 3 jars on the whiteboard and be like, okay, negative, neutral, positive. Neutral, like I paid the mortgage, right? We went grocery shopping. Now, the problem is that could be negative or it could be positive, right? But I love the actually do it because people, like, here's the thing. No, very few people are motivated by constantly being told how they did it wrong,
Correct.
right? Like even this, recording together, there are things I'm like, well, wait, do it this way or do it that way. Over the years, I've learned maybe to say to you, hey, you could try it this way, right?
That's because you're a firstborn and they tend to be bossy.
Is that right? Why are you so bossy then? Because you're not a
No,
firstborn.
I'm not bossy at all.
Okay. Let's do a poll of the people that have lived at the Little Blue House on Pinckney Hill. How you say something does count.
Yes.
Now, this gets a little bit nebulous because one of the most common complaints I hear is tone, and tone is very subjective. And so what I always tell people is that's where you have to work towards each other, right? Kindness, it's the 4 gateways. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? That third one of kindness is it done for the benefit of everybody involved? That's probably the best definition outside of religious definitions that I've ever heard for kindness. And that does involve how you say it, how you ask it. Like we're not saying, here's what we're not saying. We're not saying that you can't criticize your spouse or critique them.
I don't think you should criticize. I think you can critique.
Okay, but again, I think that is a distinction without a difference. I think that criticizing them, right, there's a difference between criticizing, this is probably where I would make the distinction, criticizing and being critical, right? Having what some people will call a critical attitude. So if you make something and I don't think it tastes good, me saying I don't like it isn't criticizing you. And I can still say thank you. I think of the peanut butter chicken when we were engaged.
I'll take it. That was that your last bad meal for me was 30 years ago. I'll take it.
No, remember the meatballs that were like,
Nope, we're sticking to had me almost 30 years ago.
oh boy. Right. But like having the conversation of, hey, have you thought you could do it this way? Or even laundry. Like I tell people all the time, I don't do laundry the way you do. So when I ask you if you can do my laundry or do something in my laundry, I say to you, can you do it this way? And if you say no, then I don't ask you to do it. Or if I ask you to do it, then I appreciate that you did it and I live with the fact that it was done that way, which you've never done.
Mhm.
Right? And sometimes kindness is taking the extra step. Sometimes kindness is loading the dishwasher the way your wife wants you to.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just recognizing that we're different and we're moving forward and it's okay.
And it's okay. It's okay to do things differently. But I guarantee you, if you think your relationship is bad right now, I would encourage you to sit and ask yourself, do we have more negative interactions in a day or positive? And I almost can promise you your relationship will turn around if you commit to, I'm just going to try for 7 days not being negative.
I'd actually take it a step farther and say, even if you think your relationship is good, I guarantee you it could get better. Because the question you need to ask yourself is, do we have as many kind interactions as we possibly could? There's a founder of a psychological theory named William Glasser, who is considered the founder of choice theory or reality therapy, depending on how old you are, what label you give him. And when he would do couples counseling, he would actually say to the wife first, he would say, can you tell me 3 things about your husband you like? And if she couldn't say 3 sincere things that she liked, he would refuse to do couples counseling with them because he would say, I don't think I can help you, and refer them out. He would say, could you commit to complimenting each other 3 times a day, legitimate compliments, not made up stuff. And if they couldn't, he wouldn't see them. And I've often thought about that as a couples relationship therapist, how many times people, they just want the other person to change and they think that somehow criticizing them will get that. And I always ask, well, do you change from being criticized? No, right? You do change from typically being affirmed. All right, any closing thoughts?
I would just say, when in doubt, affirm. Think about how you're going to approach a conversation. This whole podcast is not to say there's not hard conversations that can come up and that being nice will just fix everything. That's not what this is about.
Right, because we're not actually calling people to be nice. We're calling them to be kind.
We're calling them to be kind. You can be kind when things are bad between you. It doesn't mean that you should never get divorced or you should be in an abusive relationship. So I want to be clear of that. In your everyday, if you're just like, hey, my partner or my spouse and I are not meshing, and there's no huge red flag, then just ask yourself, what if I committed to being kind?
Yeah.
And engaging in positive interactions? What might that do for my marriage?
Yeah. What would happen if you just decided to only interact from a place of kindness?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. That doesn't mean to you, like you said, you can still say hard things. You know, a lot of times, because one of the things I tell people is if they get mad, that doesn't mean you said anything wrong. You might have actually said the thing that was necessary, that was true, that was kind, that was helpful. And they weren't ready to hear it. They weren't ready to act upon what they heard. But you have to have those objective standards. If you're looking for objective standards, I would suggest to start with the 6 rules of communication, which you can find in my book, The Emotionally Secure Couple.
I will actually say to couples, hey, the way you paint each other sitting in here, I would think you're married to a monster.
Yeah.
And
People get really mad sometimes when
they
you do this.
But I want you to ask yourself every day, am I married to a monster? If you are, we have a whole different conversation to have. But at the end of the day, you're like, I'm not married to a monster. I'm just really frustrated with this individual. Welcome to the club. We all get frustrated with our spouse. You get to still be kind.
Amen. I mean,
hey, amen. You don't even have that. You can't even relate. So
I would say, I love the jar illustration. I would encourage everybody listening, even if you think you have the greatest marriage, buy the jars, or if you have, like, I know some people have whiteboards in their kitchen or whatever, draw a line. And every time you give a sincere thank you, compliment, you say something positive to your spouse, give it a check. And every time you criticize, give it a check. Now, you got to do it long enough that it almost becomes habit, because I think when people first do it, they hedge against the negatives. So it's not a real experiment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's still benefit in that, because you're going to rewire your brain and you can still have the hard conversations. For instance, I could say to you, hey, the way you use a saw scares me. Let's talk about that.
I'd actually probably agree with you. I mean, I didn't tell you this. Part of the reason I brought you into the floor is because I was getting so aggravated with those stinking tools
Your temper.
that the blade was actually right coming at my stomach. And I was like, I don't think that's how you're supposed to
Yeah,
cut.
nope,
But I don't really
definitely
know how
not.
to. And he gets worried about me with tools, which rightfully so. But you're not going to learn if you don't let me try. What's the worst that's going to happen? I
You're
cut
gonna.
an artery in my stomach, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have arteries in your stomach? I'm
I
sure
don't
you
know.
probably
But
do.
hey, our friend Matt, I bet you could help stop that.
Yeah,
See?
yeah. There you go. Look at
Just
that.
call Matt.
Yeah, just call Matt.
Okay.
All right. Listen, if you enjoyed this, if you're enjoying my wife stopping by and us doing this together, could you do us a favor and share this on your socials? I can't tell you how much that would help us. If you have a question that you'd like for us to answer, if you'd like to find us online, we do shorts. We do swing time videos where we answer questions from people and we talk about things in life. We're coming up with solutions for that this winter when it gets cold. I think we're going to use the couch. Maybe in November and December, I can talk my wife into coming and sitting in the hunting blind, and we'll make videos out there.
I always come in the hunting blind at least
Yeah,
once.
right. I was going to say, but for all the
there
videos,
needs to be perfect
yeah,
for all
yeah,
that
of course.
business. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please share with a friend. And hey, give us that rating in your podcast store. Until next time, change possible.